Hey everybody, so I wanted to make a step 1 video. I've gotten my step score back. I got it back a while ago actually, but then I started my surgery rotation and I did not have like any free time, and so I just didn't have time to make the video, but now I do. I'm on OB-GYN now, but that's still not as much free time, but at least it's better than surgery. I do get weekends off, so that's good. So I just want to talk about step. So since I didn't want to like make a video also without knowing my score, because like I didn't want to give advice unless I thought I had reason to give it or I was okay to give it. So just want to say like I did well above average, which is if when you take step you kind of realize like your standards go down. Like you're like, I want to get this much above average, and they're like, okay, maybe this much, and then your standards just lower and lower and lower. Eventually I was like, oh my god, I just want to pass. Like my confidence is being deteriorated. But I think I did all right. I'm happy with my score, and so I'm not that hesitant on giving advice, or at least saying what I did. So I had done the Brosencephalon deck throughout second year, I think. Yeah, that's when I really had started doing it. I heard now, I've been trying to keep up with all the changes that have been going on, but there's a Zonky deck that came out. I think it's just like a more in-depth version of the deck that I had been using, made by someone else. So you can try that out. There's also, I used Pathoma along with my classes, and so like if I was on a cardiology class, I would look at the cardio section of Pathoma. I also heard now there's like a new video thing called Boards and Beyond, which I didn't use, but that's because it was newer and I just didn't have the time to try it out. But that might be a resource to check out. But I did not use it. I used Pathoma throughout. I also used Sketchy Micro for my infectious disease class at the beginning of the year, and I used that for my step studying when the time came. I did listen to lectures throughout the year. Don't think it was really that helpful. Granted, I had a friend who said that maybe, they said like a decent amount of what they learned got on the test, step 1 test, was relevant to class material, whereas for me, I did not feel like anything I got on my test was really like just from lecture. Like I would have gotten it from first aid, Pathoma, the Anki decks. But yeah, apparently class lecture can be useful too. That's what I'd been told by other people. My friend said that. It did not happen for me, but you know, could happen to you. So pay attention to lectures. Like don't be like super intense on it, but yeah, pay attention to lectures. You gotta pass your courses too. I also used first aid along with my classes. Like again, just corresponding sections in first aid I would use with my corresponding class. So basically just, incorporating step 1 material throughout the year. I did a lot of research during my second year, so maybe I probably could have like done more studying, but no regrets. Research is important too. Having a life is important too, but I basically tried to balance studying for lectures and using class material versus also using the step material. Those were the resources I used throughout the year. I did study over spring break, not as intense. Like I still watched movies and stuff, but I did study because I'm a nerd, but that's okay. Do not feel obligated to study during spring break. It's not mandatory. It's definitely not mandatory. You also need to play this as like a long game. Like you have to stay sane, and if taking that spring break off is going to help your sanity, please do it. I took 5 to 6 weeks of dedicated studying, because 1 week I technically was in school, but I was really just not paying attention to school. I really hope my med school does not watch this, but they probably knew what we were doing. But then I basically did not stay in my school region. I left because I was too afraid that people who were taking the step exam, we all go crazy. I went crazy. I knew my friends were going to go crazy. I didn't want to be around the craziness. I also didn't want to be around people who would easily distract me, because I would want to talk to my friends. So I just like said peace out and left. my morning schedule. I had gone off of this person's schedule off of Reddit, and I'll post the link. This person, he or she, had done basically UWorld, Pathoma, first aid throughout like each day. So they would like break it up, and like each day was like a section of UWorld, the corresponding Pathoma, and the correspond, or I guess they might have done corresponding UWorld questions. For me, I did, and when you do UWorld, you'll understand that you can do in like timed or untimed, tutored, which means like you get to see the answer right after you answer the question, versus like non-tutors where you see the answers at the end. And I had done random, which means like I did not do my questions by subject. They could be any subject, anything, because I knew that if I knew a question was from a cardio section, I could just rule out questions or answers just by like, okay, well, this is a cardio question. The answer's not going to be about like musculoskeletal stuff. So I'm just did it all random. And I also needed to learn how to like switch my brain between different subjects on the test, because it's not going to be all one subject per section on the test. So like an example is like I would wake up like 7, go to the library at like 8. I varied it up. I would sometimes do the UWorld questions first, just because that was probably the worst part of my day. I didn't like that very much, and I'd either do like 1 or 2 sections of UWorld. Then I do first aid, like maybe I'd do like cardiology that day. I'd read the cardiology section, and then I would watch the corresponding Pathoma associated with that section, and I'd just watch all of it. And then I was still continuing my Anki deck. I would try to do maybe 3 to 4 sketchy videos a day, just to keep the micro fresh in my head. There's also sketchy farm and sketchy path, and I have friends who really advocated for sketchy farm, but it just didn't work for me. I tried blunt memorizing, and drugs do come up on the test, at least it did on mine. So learning your drugs is important. What else? Sorry, I'm just like going off the flow. This is like the most downtime I had. I didn't expect to make this video right now, so I'm just making this on the fly. But I still did my Anki, I did my sketchy, and then like at night I would take a break and I'd watch some TV, and I did try and work out. I didn't have access to a gym at this point, which kind of blew, but I was making sure to try and eat, try and work out. I would have a break around like 12, so I'd probably, if I did the questions first, the questions could take me 4 hours. At least in the beginning it did, and so I'd take the break and then I'd do the rest of the day. And I did 2 passes of UWorld. I don't know how useful the second pass was, to be honest. I did memorize a lot of the questions, but it was nice. I thought it was nice just because I do learn through questions. That's the only way I can see if I actually learn the material or not, and it pushes me when I get that UWorld question wrong. And then there's people who say, like, you know, the UWorld percentage you get matters. I don't know how really you can even compare UWorld percentages, because you know, there are people who are doing the tutored mode versus untutored mode, and then there's people who are doing it timed versus untimed, random versus non-random, and it's just like, I don't know how you can compare the percentages. That being said, my UWorld percentage somehow ended up being, like the overall UWorld percentage, I scored slightly higher than what it predicted, but it was very close. So was really weird. I did the 2 UWorld assessments as well. I did them maybe within 3 weeks of my real test, like 2 to 3 weeks within my test, and I did them like 2 or 3 days apart, which I don't know if is necessary or it was smart to do them so close. But my UWorld first assessment score was higher than my second, I believe, and I think that tends to be the case for a lot of people, that their first assessment's a little easier. And my score was exactly the same as my second UWorld assessment, which is like, darn, I wish I could have had the first, but whatever, still fine. I did 1 NBME. I did a lot of them offline, but I did NBME 18. I don't know if it's changed within the time that I took STEP, but NBME 19 I heard had a really awful curve, and like if I had done it, I would have probably freaked out because my score would have been a lot lower, and people tend to score like 15 to 20 points higher than what they get on that practice assessment. So in case you don't know, the NBME assessments are like these practice tests that the NBME people gave as like a kind of a way to gauge how you're doing. They say it's not representative of your score, but like people use it to like predict how they're doing, just gauge their progress. And I took that one and I did fine on it, but I wanted to, like, I freaked out because it was like, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but I ended up scoring higher. And everyone says like NBME either predicts well or it's a little lower, and for me it was like 13, 15 points lower than my actual score. So, you know, just take the test to practice. Also do the NBME free 120 questions. There's like some random questions that they have out floating around. Or not floating around, they actually like have it on a website or something. I'll try to link it in the video description, but some of those questions do end up on your test. I have friends who had like maybe at least like 4 of those questions actually end up on the test. Sometimes the images, like an image you'll see on the that assessment, ends up on your test. A question off of an NBME I took, ended up on my test, and I had gotten it wrong on my practice test, and I was not about to get it wrong again on a real test, so that was good. So that's also a benefit of the assessments, is even if you're not going to use it to gauge your score, it can give you questions that might end up on your real test. So that's always good. That's about it. Honestly, it was just, I did the whole UFAP method, but now you guys have more resources coming around, and I can't vouch for, you know, Boards and Beyond because I didn't use it, but I've been seeing good reviews about it, so maybe it's worth looking into. I didn't use the Zonky deck, but I've been seeing good things about that. It seems to be competing well with the Brosencephalon deck. For me, I think just the spaced repetition is a really good thing because I have a very bad memory. I tell people I have the memory of a gold dead fish. So I think that it's good to have that. Some people might not benefit from it. There's also Firecracker, which I think is a similar concept, and you can do that as well. I just think for me, it's like just preparing throughout the year. I know people will say like you don't have to, but I think if you can prepare for the step exam while also helping it, you know, reinforce things for your classes, I don't see any issue with that. Just don't like, you know, make yourself go insane doing it, but I think that it's completely doable. I see nothing wrong with it either. Maybe you won't remember everything, but hopefully the whole point of spaced repetition is that you will remember it. I had gone to a hotel the night before my step exam because the drive was around 30 minutes away and it could go up to an hour if the traffic hit, which I believe it would have. So I just got a hotel the night before. I made my family come with me because I was not about to sleep in a hotel by myself the night before that exam. So I had a hotel room that was like 5 minutes away, and I made my family sleep with me and drop me off at the test. The test was a friggin' blur. I remember the same thing happened to me during my MCAT exam. I basically just like went into some trance state. I can't even remember a lot of the test. I just know that for like spacing, I think I took a break after the first 2 sections, maybe another break after the second set of 2, and then I think I might have taken my lunch break at that point, and then I took time between each of the last sections, which I don't know if it was completely necessary, but I did it just because I thought I would freak out. I took the entire time. I had so much extra time on the NBME practice assessment and my UWorld assessments, but when the actual test came, I took the entire time. I got out as long as as if I'd taken the entire time. I took my entire break time. I took the entire actual test time. Another tip that you can do to add time to your test is, or at least add to your break time, is to have done the tutorial for the test beforehand and actually know how the test is going to go, and that adds like 15 minutes I think to your test time, which is great because more break time means like more time to just like calm yourself. I didn't bring test material to look at between breaks, but people did. I think it's more of a comfort thing. I was more like, if I have this and I end up looking at the book, at my study book, and I realize I got a question wrong, it's going to piss me off more than anything. It's not going to benefit me as much. I either know it or I don't at this point, and I don't want to risk stressing myself out. So I did not do that. Snacks, my mom made me a sandwich. I think a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which I normally don't eat, but I wanted something light. I barely ate actually during this test. I didn't have the strength to eat. I ate some almonds. I had half of the sandwich. Made sure I had my fluids. You can't bring a water bottle actually into your room, which blows because I love being hydrated, but it was probably for the better so I didn't like pee a lot. When I got out of the test, thought I failed. I didn't think I failed, but in honesty, like, I could not, and this is how I am in general, I could not tell if I passed or failed. Like, if you told me I did super well on that test, I'd believe you. If you told me I failed that test, I would believe you. And I like called my a person in the class above me and called her, and I was like, I have no idea how I did. I don't know how to feel. I now have to take an Uber ride home, and I just feel so sad. And she's like, don't worry, like, everyone feels like that. So if you come out of your test thinking you failed, that does not mean you failed. It means you reacted like most people did. And I had taken the test where my friends didn't take the test, like they were in a different area because I said I was not studying alongside my friends. So I didn't know if they were like, oh, let's have a party, we're free, and then I was just the only one who was like, oh my god, I don't know how this went. But then I ended up talking to them and they were like, yeah, we came out of the test wondering what had happened to us. Like, I don't know what happened. So that's natural. So it's okay. If you feel fine, that's great. If you don't feel fine, that's okay. Just, distract yourself, enjoy, have something to look forward to. People went to like all these nice trips afterwards, and it gave them something to look forward to. I did not know what my schedule was going to be like, so I just decided to not have anything super exciting planned, but getting to sleep and not having to do flashcards or study for the limited time that I did, because I had to start surgery soon, but I was very happy to have that time. So enjoy once you're done. Just enjoy it. And when you get your score back, you deal with it then, but just, enjoy. And what I want to leave you guys with is, like, I don't know if I believe that this test actually reflects how we're going to be doctors. I don't think it, honestly. Like, I'm happy with my score, and I still think that this test does not in any way indicate whether I'm going to be a good doctor or not. But that being said, this test is used to screen people out of places. It doesn't completely determine where you're going to go to, like, what residency or specialty you're going to go into, but it can help if you do well. So take the test seriously. Don't just, like, joke around. Make the effort so you don't have any regrets. And who knows, like, I know there are some people like, well, I'm not going to go into a competitive specialty. I don't need a awesome step score. But you never know what you're going to fall in love with. I had my surgery rotation, and I loved surgery. I got to do my plastic surgery rotation and orthopedic surgery rotation, and I loved it. And it would suck if you can feel like you cannot go into a specialty because you didn't try hard enough. So my advice to everybody is to act as though you're going into the most competitive specialty possible. Or, yeah, actually just act like you're going into the most competitive specialty as possible. Do the research that's required. Study your butt off. And if you end up going into a less competitive specialty, then that's great. You're set. Like, you did extra work, whatever. It's not, like, there's no loss. But if you end up slacking off, thinking, whatever, I'm not going into a super competitive specialty, and then you find out you love, like, some really super competitive specialty, you're gonna be upset with yourself. Not to say that you can't make things work, but it's better to just make things as easy for you as possible. So take the test seriously, take school seriously, but please have a life. Please enjoy. Do not burn out, because this is a very, very long game, and you do not want to burn out. So that's everything I have to say. If I've left anything out, please let me know. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Sorry for being so bad about making videos, but I hope that once I'm done with OBGYN, I can actually, get back into making more consistent videos and actually tell you about my rotations. Thank you guys for listening, and good luck with everything.